Hello, I'm going to try a video on this project. The bowl swatches is what I'm thinking I might call it now, but we'll see. That could change. But basically what I'm playing with is the idea of getting comfortable and familiar with how to painting objects and changing the hue of what you might be painting, as the actual color, as well as the value or the lightness or darkness of it, and the temperature as well. If it's sort of a cooler kind of color with a little bit more blue, or warmer with a little bit more yellow. So that's the kind of thing I'm doing here. I've already done some, but it's basically based off of this of the various two color studies that we've been doing in class. So the bottom one, which is the one I think I'll start with, is based on Quinn Rose and Ultramarine Blue, both by M. Graham. And the middle one is going to be based on Azo Yellow and Naphthol Red, also both lovely Graham colors. And by the time I get to this, I'm going to need to get some clean water, but this is going to be a combination of Hans Yellow Light by Daniel Smith and Peacock Blue by Holbein. So let's see. Basically, on the left side, I am imagining that light is coming. Yeah, that's not it. Light is coming from over in this sort of way. I'm not going to worry about drawing that exactly, but so the left side of the outer bowl is going to be lighter, and it's then going to be transitioning to darker and darker, as well as getting cooler and cooler. And I'm having fun exaggerating that shift. And a similar thing is happening up here with the yellows and oranges. And then on the inside, I'm having fun with practicing making a graduated washes, sort of blended from one color to another. And in fact, that seems like a fun place to start. So anytime you're sort of not sure about colors, I would go back to, what you sort of studied, and I do try to think of, really, by the time I'm kind of going around something and really making a shift from a lighter value of one color and a temperature to a darker value of a similar color, but not the same, that is also temperature changed. I like to think of sort of angling diagonally across this way. So light rose to sort of light with a little bit of purplish. And, I probably won't get to straight blue because I'm trying to, in fact, I won't get to straight blue, but because this is playing with the secondary secondary triads, not to be confused with primary triads or primary primads. I'll stop. So for this, the graduated little wash, I am going to grab a little bit of the Quinn Rose, keeping it very light. And I'm going to start out painting this shape. I'm using a number 6 round, which is a handy size. Before I get started, I was going to show this, and I will I can send this to my students, but just a value sketch of what we're after for this whole thing. So that probably helps make a lot more sense. So I've just done one pass on everything here. So what I'll be doing now is pretty similar to what I already did, but I'll be starting out with really kind of a watery rose, and that might not even be watery enough. I'm going to bring in just a touch more water because I want to start light and watery because I know I can always get darker easier. And I am painting this shape with really what's mostly really light rose water. There's a couple ways of doing this, and you'll see me do a couple different things. So I can start that way and just sort of wet it down, and then bring in a little bit of color, a little bit of a darker color about halfway down, sort of dripping it in. But the tricky part is to make sure it doesn't sort of all go up to there, to this area where I want to keep it really, really light in value and the color very rose, pinkish. So then as it goes down, it's going to transition to a bit more of a reddish purple, and eventually is going to get all the way down to a really fun dark bluish purple. And so these are really sort of the inverse of what's going on here. I just mixed in a little bit more of ultramarine blue there. And like the swatches that we're just doing with one color, I find that I have much better success when I build up slowly and build up in layers. Because there's this trying to get watercolors to blend in the way that you want is if you haven't already figured it out, can be not simple. So the more you sort of do a light pass and then do another layer to adjust, the more you can sort of, any oddities are going to be less significant. It's easier to sort of correct things and get them the way that you want them to be. So that being said, let's see over here. This is pretty light. That's good. I might want to make this one ever so slightly darker with just a real small touch of the ultramarine blue, so that it's sort of hinting at purple. I'm not sure if that's going to be quite dark enough. Let's see. That is not a whole lot darker, but it might be all I wanted. Trying to keep the shape, the distribution of moisture and color pretty even. I'm gonna try to go even a touch darker. Don't do it, James. Oh, it'll be okay. It is fun to really start learning what sort of values your paints can make and how to use them wisely. This is only one pass, but it's quite a bit darker, but if anything, I might want that going a little bit more towards blue. So a great opportunity to adjust the color, but really not getting darker. I'm going to put a really watery glaze of ultramarine blue, so it will slightly shift the color to be a little bit more straight purple and some sort of thing here there. But because it's really watery mix, it's really not making it darker. And the paint is transparent by nature, so the lower layer is interacting with the light layer I just put on. We'll see how that goes. I know that I want to start getting much darker with these guys. So I will, I think I have that mix, but let's see, I'm going to make a mix that is just slightly, I don't even know if you could call it, I think I'm sort of going for more of a straight purple in my mind. Once again, these are all, it's kind of subjective. So sometimes it's hard to, not sometimes, it's almost always hard to talk about colors with color names and really know that you're communicating the same thing that you have in your eye, your mind's eye, as somebody else has in theirs. I want to get that darker. It's not I think that's good for now. I did a blurb over there, but I'm going to worry about that later. And then for the furthest one to the right, I'm going to grab even more ultramarine blue with just kind of a hint of red or a hint of purple. Whoa, that was interesting. Did that just happen? These little splotches, I don't know if you can see those. I think I'm going to let that be. I'm going to soak up this excess watery color down at the bottom. I'm going to see what happens if I just try to get some water and have a paper towel handy. Shape is probably still wet, so this presents us with a bit of a conundrum. I could probably just leave that alone and deal with it after I'm sure everything's dried. Maybe it was there beforehand. Yeah, and I just noticed it now. Either way, that's fine for that pass on the purple, but really just trying to get these to read as all relating to purple. And sometimes it's way over on the red side of purple, and sometimes it's on the light valued side of red and purple, and sometimes, anyways, hopefully that makes sense. I'm going to try the orange here. I have some water that I think is going to be fine. We'll find out soon enough. But this is a combination of azo yellow and naphthol red. So in a similar way, I'm going to start out with a pretty watery, really kind of yellow to start off with. And I can always get more red and darker, but it's hard to get lighter and more yellow. So I'll do a similar sort of thing. I may start mixing in some color as I get a little lower in the shape. It's going to be a little bit. It was a little bit creamier. It wasn't the same concentration, so it takes it takes combining several things, juggling several things. And this is a good example of how if I let it dry like that and the transition wasn't really as clean as I was hoping, because it's shifting from yellow pretty quickly to this orange, I could either wait and be patient and fix it in the next pass, or I can not wait and be impatient and I want that to be on screen. But I'm just going to I'm going to drop in more yellow up here, and I know you can't see that really drop in as I squeeze it, but I know this whole shape is still wet. So if I bring in some more watery color, I will be able to then bring that into the orange that was already there, and that will make a bit of a cleaner mix. It will lighten everything up and make everything more yellow. But that is one way you can definitely sort of adjust while you're in the middle and trying to figure things out. And I might even put in even a little bit more water there, because it was just wanted everything to move around, and I know it's, once again, I know it's slowly building up to the darkness that I want. But what I'm more interested in is a clean transition. And an even blending for the shape. As a Naphthol red is so crazy strong that it adds even more fun challenges. Let's see, that was fun. I think I will probably do kind of a similar thing. For the bottom swatches here, I'm gonna start in on this second one and have it be definitely an orangey, a yellowy orange, but a little bit darker, stronger. You are more than welcome to sort of let shapes dry. I'm sort of just, I keep painting along, but ideally I would try to make sure that every shape that still has some water in it and drying like I hope it dries, to let it dry enough so that the water's not going to move around and create weird things. Although watercolor creates weird things, and it's one of the coolest things it does. Anyways, I'm going to soak up just a touch of that excess water. So let's see, now I'm going to go to the middle shape here, and I want it a touch more red. well, a touch more orange, so I'm adding a touch more red. And a little bit darker. The stray hair. Man, that's a whole thing. Where was I? Yes, darker orangey color and watercolor painting. Remember how trying to keep the moisture even in an entire shape, so sometimes, did I mention naphthol red is really strong? So sometimes when if I'm fussing and it's not sort of coming along right, I'll drop in a little bit extra up at the top and just try to reestablish plenty of watery color being up here, so it will continue to fall down with gravity and help make a nice clean wash. Let's see, how about a little bit darker even still? Getting very, kidding aside, when the color is that strong, I mean, it can help just to make sure that you're mixing a little bit of that and then adding it into, instead of overpowering any given mix. This seems like about what I was after. Might be a little watery, but that's okay. And one thing you may notice about painting this way is that I am tilting it in a way that is making it conveniently so that the paint will be dropping down this way. And while I sort of think of these as flat washes, just for learning flat washes as opposed to the graded washes here, graded shape, you'll note that it's pretty easy to drop in a little bit more darker color so that there's a subtle transition, graduated transition of a little bit darker color as it goes towards the bottom of the bowl, which fortunately is exactly what would happen, how it would appear, depending on the light, if the light was in this situation that I'm using. Let me see. Gonna try to get pretty dark and pretty reddish. This change, the orange to the red, brings up an interesting philosophical debate about colors that are warmer and cooler. This to this is clearly a transition from a color with more red to a color with more blue, warmer. Red, but reds and yellows are sort of usually, and oranges are usually the colors that are associated with warmth. So this exercise is really just based off trying to get familiar with these two colors, but in fact, if I was painting, it would depend on the, once again, the lighting and the bowl, but it's quite possible that the red over here might be shifting more towards a sort of a rose, a cooler red, because it's still pretty darn warm red. Darn warm red. I think I'm going to let those dry, get some clean water, and do some more very soon.